Standing in line to get some French fried potatoes. It's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two folks who don't call a sling blade, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
Somebody gave Corey an amazing chance to ham it up with one of his favorite impressions. Corey, who gave you the chance?
That was from Alexander Berlika.
Thank you, Alexander. Corey loves you.
That Corey.
Why are you paying bills while we're doing the show?
Well, because I
know it's not because you want to maximize your efficiency and you manage your time well.
Well, no, what I do is during the show, I check JDate.
Of course you do.
When you're spouting off on crap no one cares about. But I got this American Express bill for like $2,200. And I'm looking at the bill.
I'm telling you, man,
no,
the call girls that you use in New York are too expensive.
They're escort girls.
They're too expensive.
The biggest charge I see there was like $475 for my iPhone 5, and I just added up the entire bill.
Yes,
and it adds up to $1,230 approximately $1,230. So
yes.
We're $1,000 off in terms of how much they say I owe versus how much I believe I owe. I should call them.
Yeah, I guess you should. Call the escort service first.
Make
sure they didn't double charge.
But I'm not going to call them during the show.
Yeah, please. No, call the escort service during the show. That would be great.
Maybe you can come over during the show.
Yeah, that'd be fabulous.
Oh, by the way, we should talk about our plans for the holiday.
That's right, yes. This is our last show of the year. We're going to be taking the last 2 weeks off. IGN tends to shut down those last 2 weeks. In fact, everybody shuts down those last 2 weeks. And in previous years, we have labored through them, but it's time to give everybody a break. So enjoy the holidays. Seriously, just kind of take the last 2 weeks and loaf and eat and have fun. And
I do that anyway. I loaf and I eat.
Yeah. So we'll be back the first week of the new year, and
by the way, we'll still be on Facebook.
Oh yeah,
and you can always email us.
Yeah.
And you can Voxbox us. So it's not like we're going away.
We
are taking because the industry tends to take the last couple weeks of the year off.
Big time.
And so we will be doing the same because we would like to pretend like we work in the industry.
Yes, exactly. No, that's true. The industry really does. It just shuts down, especially now because Oscar voting has begun, effective today, in fact. So you can start voting online if you're an Academy member, and the Oscar nominations now come out on the 10th of January. Can you believe that?
I like that.
That's like crazy.
Well,
That's the nominations.
Well, why not?
Because usually, most Academy members I know, they don't even start getting around to looking at the movies and watching their screeners and considering nominations until December. Now you're essentially putting them on a deadline that is just 4 weeks after the LA Film Critic deadline, and you know what it's like for us. It's like, so you're giving Academy members another 4 weeks?
Yes, that's all they need.
No, they don't.
When's it usually? February?
February.
February.
They moved it back a month. So there's more time for campaigning for the actual awards as opposed to campaigning for nominations, is what they're trying to do. And they're also trying to undercut the Golden Globes, because the Golden Globes, now suddenly will not have any. They won't be able to say we had an effect on the nominees. Their nominees may have an effect on the Oscar nominees, but their winners won't have an effect on the Oscar nominees because there's an overlap now in the two timetables.
Well, I consider it very sad that the Oscars, the granddaddy of them all, has to make any move to counter anything the Golden Globes do.
Yeah.
It is very depressing.
It's a tragedy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So the point being, we're taking the last 2 weeks off.
2 weeks off.
Email us at digigods.com. Check the Facebook page. We're not going away. We're just shutting down like the industry does at this time of the year.
Just shutting down, giving everybody a break, giving them a breather. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with all kinds of crazy, awesome new stuff. We got listener mail today. We've had some really good listener mail. But you know what, Mark? Why don't we start off with all that concert crap that you love to talk about, because you are the music and concert man, and you know all that junk and stuff.
You know I am. But see how much faster I'll do this than you usually do your crap.
Okay.
I don't know what happened to Louie Andersen, but he
gained weight. He gained weight.
That's impossible. Yeah. The guy can only lose weight. He can't gain any more weight. It is not possible. In fact, I heard that he once jumped up in the air and got stuck. That's a classic Yo Mama joke. You want to know?
That's pretty good.
You know the Yo Mama joke that I loved when I first heard it? You ready for this?
Yeah.
Wade, Yo Mama's so fat, she eats wheat thicks.
That's good. I like that.
Anyway, Louie Andersen has a new stand-up special on DVD, which shows you how hip Louie Andersen is. It's called Big Baby Boomer. Louie Anderson is kind of funny, but I think his time has kind of passed. There's some funny stuff in here because he is funny. These guys won a couple of Emmys. So, whatever. It's Louie Anderson doing his it's a bit of a greatest hits thing because that makes it worthwhile for the DVD. So, a lot of better stuff you can hear from Louie, probably on YouTube, quite frankly, than even renting Big Baby Boomer. What else do we have? We have something called I Am. Now, at Madison Square Garden, here's the thing, Wade.
Yes.
They have all these, strange groups I've never heard of, and they tend to be Asian. And they really tend to be Korean.
Yeah,
actually.
like Psy.
Yeah, well, there's this band called SMTOWN.
Yeah.
And SMTOWN,
I know.
Their music is terrible.
It's great.
No, it's not. The music is terrible, but they did play at Madison Square Garden, and they sold the thing out in 2011.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And all these Korean groups are all the same. These K-pop groups, they all have these, doe-eyed girls and these boy bands, and they're all and all the boys are so young and shaved and just they look like little boy robots. They look like they look like robots from AI, like Stanley Kubrick's AI.
I know.
Anyway, this one is called I Am SMTOWN Live World Tour in Madison Square Garden. Not my favorite stuff. However, if you do love them, you will like this. It's got four discs. Mm-hmm. One is a movie, the movie I Am, and then the other is a bunch of DVD extras. Discs 3 and 4 have the Madison Square Garden concerts, part 1 and 2. So I don't get it. I'm not into K-pop. I'm not into much Asian music, but people seem to love SMTOWN, and if you do, don't email us. We're always talking about the Stray Cats.
Fascinating. No, I'm just looking at this. It's just I could hang with these people. I don't know that I could communicate with them, but I dig it.
Why would you want to hang with those people?
I don't know. It looks cool.
Those people.
I like the. I like the
Why
hair.
Why would you want to hang with those people?
I like the hair. I like the. I like it when Asian people dye their hair blonde. It's just got a cool, funky rebel look to it. It's like when white people dye their hair black. It's kind of the
people dye their hair black.
Like jet black. Like punk rockers and stuff.
Oh, God.
If you have lighter,
you're digging yourself into a hole, buddy.
It's cool, man. That's how you always know the difference in cultures when you watch World Cup soccer. The Japanese and the Koreans, they're hip. They'll do funky stuff with their hair and dye their hair crazy colors. Chinese never do it. Too conservative.
Good.
It's
Good for them.
It's a thing.
I like China. I like their food. I like their cities, big and gleaming.
Mm-hmm.
I like their one-child policy. That's how it should be. I have a personal no-child policy in my household. I will have no kids.
Okay.
Stray Cats, live in Montreux, 1981. Now, the Stray Cats, they're great. They're really cool. Brian Setzer has been doing solo stuff for years. He works a lot around L.A., and this is from 1981, so it is totally vintage, and it's got all their big hits, Stray Cat Strut and Rock This Town and Runaway Boys and Pretty Pretty Baby. So if you like the Stray Cat Struts, Stray Cats live at Montreux, 1981. Awesome.
I like Brian Setzer. He named his daughter Alka. You know that, right?
I'm sorry, did you say something?
Yes.
See, actually, the reason why we're taking the last 2 weeks of the year off is so Wade can recharge his comedic batteries. Really, he's running out of...
you're laughing inside at that.
I'm laughing at you inside.
Thank you.
Greg Allman is one of the great guitarists. He is a great, rock guitarist, a great blues guitarist, a great singer and keyboardist. He's kind of never really gotten his due. He is one of the best rockers of his era, and he's got a new DVD called I'm No Angel. By the way, I'm No Angel, probably my favorite solo Greg Allman song. I'm going to go ahead and say that.
Okay.
Because I'm like that. And, Greg Allman, he's had a bunch of crazy marriages. Mm-hmm. The guy's been married 5 you realize that he was married to Cher.
Mm-hmm. I know.
In 1975, he got married to Cher, and then they divorced a couple years later.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. Greg Allman. Doing it up. What is with Cher? You realize that for years,
yes.
Cher, who back in the day was an attractive woman, she was actually sleeping with Sonny Bono.
Yes.
Now, for those who don't know Sonny Bono, he was an entertainer.
Well, he was semi-regular on the Love Boat.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
And I don't know how tall
and a representative in Congress.
I don't know how tall Sonny Bono was.
His wife is still in Congress.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Mary Bono.
That's right.
The name Bono carries on. Anyway,
So Cher was very tall. I don't know how tall Sonny Bono was, but the answer is probably not very.
5'4", 6".
Probably 5'4".
Somewhere there.
Yeah, 5'5". Anyway, so she also married Greg Allman. Anyway, Greg Allman has a live DVD called I'm No Angel, and again, I love the song I'm No Angel. I love some of the other songs here that he plays. Demons and Fear of Falling and Sweet Falling and It's My Cross to Bear and that kind of stuff. Slip Away. This is great. This is great stuff. I think he's so talented, and he kind of really never got his due. Although the Allman Brothers were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I think in '95. But it's a great concert. It's not an oral. It's not an oral triumph because it's an older concert and it's on DVD. So forget that.
I especially like Greg Allman when he's chocolate covered.
Oh, you know what they have? So get this. In the Grove, they
You're
have
still
this,
laughing inside. Go ahead.
In the Grove, they have this new candy store called Dylan's Candy Bar.
Yeah.
Now, Dylan's Candy Bar. Now, there was a Dylan's Candy Bar in New York, which I used to go to.
Yes.
And they opened up one in the Grove, which is which is an outdoor mall in Los Angeles.
Sure.
And they opened up one there.
Yes.
You know what they have?
No.
They have almonds covered in chocolate and sea salt.
Oh, wow. You know what I just had today?
Almonds covered in chocolate and sea salt?
No. It's Sweet Lady Jane's. We love Sweet Lady Jane, don't we?
It's a high-end bakery in Los Angeles.
Oh, my gosh. It exists in two places. There's one on Melrose in Los Angeles, kind of Hollywood-ish, West Hollywood area. And then there's another one on Montana in Santa Monica. Just opened not too long ago, about a year and a half ago. And I was at the one on Montana, Santa Monica, and I went and got one of their chocolate brownies with a caramel center and sea salt on the top.
Ooh.
I can't drive past the place now without stopping and getting one. I can't.
You know what it is? I'm sure you guys have restaurants like this in your neighborhood.
It's like you can't drive past Sunset and Vine without picking up a hooker. It goes with the intersection now.
Eddie Murphy sure can't.
Exactly.
You know how there's certain restaurants in your neighborhood where if someone says, "Oh, I'm picking up a couple of pizzas from blank," or picking up a couple of blah blahs from blank, they go, "Oh, that's a good party."
Yeah.
They're doing it up right.
Yeah.
Sweet Lady Jane. If someone says there's a birthday party or a holiday party, we're getting a cake from Sweet Lady Jane, you go to that party. You
know what? Every time you go in there, either one of them, you will always see, especially at the one on Montana, because they do it right in front. This has nothing to do with movies. Their cake artists are amazing. Like if you say to them, it's not like you choose the cake you want. If you say to them, "I want a cake that looks like Godzilla," they'll do it.
No, well, here's what they do.
They'll make a cake that looks like Godzilla. If you say, I want a cake that looks like yin and yang, except it has like piano keys around the edge, they'll do it.
No,
it's amazing.
The ritual at Sweet Lady Jane's is this. Now, I don't know if they do this at the new one in Santa Monica, but the other one they do this all the time, and it's part of the fun of it. Is that you walk in and it's a small store. There's maybe four tables, and there's maybe each day there's maybe 40 cakes.
Yes.
In there, and you walk in and you say to them, "What do you got today?" And they are then beholden to name for you from scratch.
Yeah.
No, not from scratch, from memory.
Yeah.
Each one of those 40 cakes.
That's pretty impressive.
And you make them say it because it's part of the fun of going, "What do you got today?" And they name every single GD cake that they got. Anyway,
that's pretty great.
By the way, because you're talking about Santa Monica,
I know.
It has nothing to do with anything.
Nothing to do with anything.
Okay, folks, if you see the movie This Is 40, which I saw, there basically most of This Is 40 takes place about 300 feet from where I used to live.
Yes,
in Santa Monica.
It's true.
It's true. Do you remember the scene early on in the movie when Jason Segel is
doing the workout
with the exercise
park
ball?
Yes,
with Leslie Mann.
Yeah,
I lived about 300 feet from that spot.
You do realize that particular spot on Palisades Park.
Yeah.
Is not only the place where they shoot millions of commercials near where you used to live, it is also the place where Matt Reeves, good friend Matt Reeves, who's now doing the new Planet of the Apes movie, where Matt Reeves shot one of his student films in USC, ironically, the one that I didn't act in. And it's also where, thank you very much, I shot a substantial piece of my student film when I was in school. Thank you.
To your student
film. My student film, The Key. You've seen The Key. You remember The Key. Don't you remember? Forget it. Okay.
All right. So anyway, the moral of the story is go to Sweet Lady Jane and also watch This Is 40.
Yeah.
And in fact, all the bike riding scenes in This Is 40 take place on San Vicente Boulevard.
They do.
Which is the street where I lived.
Yep.
I lived on San Vicente Boulevard.
All right.
Anyway, we're going to talk about DVDs now?
Yeah.
Frampton Comes Alive, FCA 35. This is an evening with Peter Frampton. Of course, Peter Frampton is most widely known for the album Frampton Comes Alive. It's kind of the only album he's really known for. Although he was in Humble Pie, which is a really cool band from the 70s. But anyway, in 2011 and 2012, he did tour the country and the world in celebration of the 35th anniversary of Frampton Comes Alive. So this is good stuff. He still rocks. He's still great. He looks great. He's much older, but he still looks totally cool. And one of these was at the Beacon Theater in New York, which is a great theater in the Upper West Side.
Eco packaging.
Huh?
That's always fun. The eco packaging.
Yes, it is.
You know, it's like disposable.
Wait, you're disposable.
I am.
The Yardbirds on tour 2010 and 2012. Now, the Yardbirds, if you don't know who they was a band really more famous in the 60s, although they did get back together in the early 90s for some reason. Their big songs were For Your Love and Over, Under, Sideways, Down, and was the other one, Heart Full of Soul. And the Yardbirds had a lot of great players. Jeff Beck was an original Yardbird.
Was he really?
Jimmy Page.
No kidding.
Jimmy Page. You know, when the Yardbirds broke up in the late 60s, Jimmy Page left to found Led Zeppelin. So the Yardbirds are like, they are the S.
Wow.
Yardbirds are super duper cool. And this DVD, Yardbirds Making Tracks, this is on tour from 2010 and 2012. All their big hits, Drinking Muddy Water and Heart Full of Soul, like we just talked about, I'm a Man, and For Your Love, and Dazed and Confused, and which is cool to have Jimmy Page come and sing Dazed and Confused, the Led Zeppelin song. Totally awesome. So this is good stuff if you love your old-time rock and roll. Speaking of old-time rock and roll, we got two more in the music category. We got Rolling Stones. Did we not talk about this last week?
It was, you know what? No, we didn't. We didn't get to it last week.
Rolling Stones under review, 1975 to 1983, the Ronnie Wood years. Now, as you know, Ronnie Wood was sort of the last. He was kind of the first regular member to quit the band.
Yeah,
I think. I mean, obviously, you know, Brian Jones died and whatnot, but yeah, this is great stuff because really, what the late 70s, early 80s was to me some of the best Beatles, the best Stone stuff. I mean, we're talking Some Girls and Black and Blue and Exile on Main Street. And I just love it.
I actually know one
Exile on Main Street was earlier in the 70s. What?
I know one of Ronnie Wood's in-laws. Kind of an extended in-law by marriage.
That's great.
They've stayed at his place.
That's great.
I've heard the description. It's pretty ripping.
That's great. Anyway, this documentary, it's a documentary. It's all about their career between 75 and 83, and there's all sorts of great archive footage. And is it definitive? No, but still, it's really cool stuff. Rolling Stones under review. Finally, we have Hugh Jackman in Oklahoma. Now,
he's a big deal right now. You know, he's in that Les Miserables thing.
Now, I thought he was great in Les Mis. I mean, basically, in Les Mis, he has to take this movie that makes like a D.W. Griffith film look like a Gus Van Sant film. That's how gigantic Les Mis is.
Yeah.
And this guy has got it carried on his shoulders. Because Anne Hathaway isn't in the whole thing.
Did you read Alonzo's review?
No, what did
you need to read Alonzo's review. I dreamed a nightmare. It's hysterical. It's really funny.
You know what's funny is that what's funny about Les Mis is that I can't remember if we talked about this last time. Everybody has the same opinion about the movie.
Yes.
But they're either okay with it or they're not okay with it. Everybody thinks that this thing is just a gigantic behemoth of an unstoppable, stop it already.
Yes, correct.
You know, just bombastic, unbelievable. Every song is like 11 sort of a movie.
True.
But some people are okay with that.
Some cry during it.
And
others cry because of it.
I talked to Bob Strauss. Now, Bob Strauss is a very cynical, crusty...
Yes.
Bob Strauss is a cynical, crusty, terrific writer, really funny guy for the L.A. Daily News. And I said to Bob, I said, so, you see Les Mis? He goes, yeah. So what'd you think, knowing that he's so cynical and crusty? He's like, yeah, well, look, I cried like a bitch. It's like, okay.
Did he really?
He did.
Oh,
because I cried like a bitch. So, and what's funny is that I really, it did not hit me right when I first saw it, but then I watched it on Screener, and it's better. It's better on Screener.
I'm going to try watching it again on Screener. Despite all of my reservations, there are things about it that I want to take a look at a second time, just for an evaluative kind of itch scratch.
Yes. Anyway, so Hugh Jackman in Oklahoma, I think he's great. Hugh Jackman is great. He's done
this a lot on stage, so he's great. He nails it.
He nails it. He always nails it. He won a Tony for The Boy from Oz.
Yeah.
So the guy's got his Broadway chops, his musical theater chops.
For sure.
Wait a second. Wait, you know who this might be?
J-Date?
Could be. Hang on. I'm going to answer this, and then if it really is a J-Date, I'll step aside. Hello? Yes, it is. Oh, hey, Kristen. How are you?
I feel like this was part of some kind of a perverse eavesdropping moment. Okay, that being said, while Mark is, I don't know, doing something very strange in the other room, I'm going to blow through some KidVid because Mark never lets me do KidVid. All right, we have got... Shh, don't Tell him. Saban's Power Rangers Super Samurai, The Complete Season. This is currently on Nickelodeon, and it's 3 discs, and it is exactly like every other Power Rangers show ever created, except now they're like samurai Power Rangers. I don't get it, never have gotten it, but it obviously has some kind of an appeal. Kids love it, so whatever it is. The complete animated series of The Charlie Brown and Snoopy Show, which some of you may remember. This is not the high point for the Peanuts legacy, but it's not bad. It's 18 episodes, and there's some clever stuff in here. I'd say about a third of the episodes are memorable. The others are, so-so, somewhat forgettable. This ran in the early to mid 1980s, about 2 years between 83 and 85. And if you love Peanuts, you're gonna find a few things to hang your hat on. It's not as good as the specials. The specials, obviously, the really A-list specials are great, but it's the animation is the same. The voices are classic, and there's a certain nostalgia to it, so it's recommendable. I can't say it's brilliant. Barney, Let's Go to the Doctor. I'm sorry, there's just something perverse about Let's Go to the Doctor, Barney the Dinosaur. I know that's kind of sullying something that should be sweet and innocent, but you know what? All these Barney things are pretty much the same. That one is that's fodder for some really great drinking games during some very deranged New Year's parties. My Little Pony, if you have a little girl and you really, really, really want to satisfy her pony and fuzzy animal fixation, especially if it involves unicorns, this is My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Adventures in the Crystal Empire, and it's sweet and colorful and unbelievably girly in every conceivable way. Also of somewhat note is the definitive collector's edition of The Point. Now, The Point is a bit of a big deal. If you're not familiar with The Point, this is narrated by Ringo Starr, featuring Harry Nilsson's songs that were written and sung by Harry Nilsson, and animated by the great Fred Wolf. This is kind of a rare thing from the early 1970s, made in 1970-71, and it's kind of, I don't want to say it's certainly not in the same realm as something like Yellow Submarine, but it certainly belongs to the same animation mentality from that era. Everything from that era kind of wanted to push the envelope a little, try to do things different with animation. You even saw that a little bit with some of the stuff, like, for example, Grinch Stole Christmas. Some of the animated specials at that time were all trying to push the envelope a little bit in directions that animation had never done until that time. So definitely try to take a look at this. This is, it's a little bit of an interesting fantasy that maybe verges on a bit of the Smurf world. But it's worth checking out. The songs are terrific. Harry Nilsson's songs are great. Ringo Starr's voice is memorable, and it's a great little 70s artifact. The Point, Definitive Collector's Edition. From the Thomas and Friends series, Sticky Situations. More of the same. Don't much care for the Thomas and Friends stuff. The trains with the faces and the CGI animations. A little bit creepy, but, it's just like all the rest of them. Nothing much special there. I have a real bone to pick with Disney for what they've done with the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. I think this is just horrible, horrible animation. It's putting CGI onto something that was never meant to function under CGI. Watching Mickey and all the other Disney characters in this farm environment, this is Mickey and Donald have a farm, is just the CGI is horrendous, and it's just really not good. It just does not do any of these characters any favors, so I think that's always a misfire for Disney there. Sesame Street Preschool is cool, making friends. This is a little bit unfortunate because you got Elmo front and center here, and as I think a lot of people know, the voice of Elmo has since stepped aside because of certain legal allegations and issues, and until all that kind of sorts out, I'm afraid that the Elmo character, at least in the eyes of some adults, may be at least temporarily, if not forever, damaged. Complete third season of the HBO original series, The Life and Times of Tim. This is animated. Not sure that this is really for kids, but we're going to include it in KidVid as well. This is one of the more interesting animated series since The Simpsons. There have been a lot since The Simpsons went on the air 2 decades ago that have sort of tried to tap into the same vein, and most of them have been failures. A few of them, like Family Guy and King of the Hill have been successful on their own merits. But anyway, Life and Times of Tim, it feels a little bit more like Wait Till Your Father Gets Home. It's a bit of a throwback thing. Animation is good. The writing is pretty sharp. And it's, I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it, but certainly if you catch it when it's on, I think as a rental, this is probably worth checking out. Animation fans, people looking for something a little bit different, might want to look at it. It's, I guess you could call it Seinfeld meets Wait Till Your Father Gets Home on in animation. And then we've also got the Astonishing X-Men on Blu-ray. X-Men work pretty well in animation, and this is 4 more installments of this particular series. It looked really, really good on Blu-ray. I got to tell you, Unstoppable, Torn, Gifted, and Dangerous. Gifted is probably the best of them. Torn is not bad at all. I think if they want to continue the X-Men franchise, which they certainly are doing, they might want to look at what some of the writers are doing on this series, because I think it's pretty sharp, really good, much closer to the comics, obviously, and a lot of characters that are not featured in the movies, at least haven't been featured so far. So that's always interesting. And then lastly, but certainly not least, new series on the Cartoon Network is Dragons, Riders of Berk. This is a bit of a takeoff from it's absolutely a takeoff from How to Train Your Dragon, and you know what? I almost enjoy this series more, to be honest. I was not one of the big fans of How to Train Your Dragon. I think perhaps because I just felt it was like overkill and a bit of a predictable story. But somehow this actually is, the 4 episodes that they include here feel a little more tame. Feels a little more like, I guess I settled into the characters. I settled into the environment a little bit more. So that's definitely worth checking out. And then we got a whole bunch of anime that I'm going to go through really quickly. Kaijudo, Rise of the Duel Masters, Creatures Unleashed. I don't understand anything in this. It is completely narratively incomprehensible. I guess you have to have been on board from the very, very beginning. There are 5 episodes here, and it's very colorful and very energetic, and there's a lot of stuff that looks like water and fire and strange creatures. Tenchimucho, or Tenchimuyo, Tenchi in Tokyo, the complete series. You know what? I've occasionally caught some of the Tenchi Muyo shows and still really don't quite get it. But it's I'm sure somewhere in the anime universe they actually do make sense of this and can connect all of the many tentacles of this fascinating universe of characters. It's almost like a soap opera, and it's a little bit overwhelming, and it's very hard to sort of pick up on. Berserk, The Golden Age, Arc 1, The Egg of the King. You ever notice how this anime stuff always has these really long, fantastic, weird, and difficult to grasp titles? This is a sort of a Lord of the Rings type mythical epic, but it's as incomprehensible as it is in pieces. It is gorgeous to look at. The animation is fantastic, definitely very adult. This is not for kids. This is like for grown-ups who like animation. And it's on Blu-ray, and it is a gorgeous, gorgeous Blu-ray. So extremely good stuff there from Viz. They've done a very, very good job. Viz has definitely improved their mastering over the years. And also from Viz is Inuyasha, The Final Act. This is Blu-ray set 1, I should point out. This is a 2-disc set, and the Inuyasha stuff is much more traditional, old-world samurai mythos. And pretty great, really pretty great. Wonderful animation, very good stories. This is 13 episodes along with a lot of great special features, including some original Japanese trailers and production art, and it's terrific. Just really, really terrific. The Blu-ray is just as perfect as you can get for anime on Blu-ray. And then from the good people at Funimation, we have a number of great shows. This is Tenchi Muyo Movie Collection. And as again, the entire Tenchi Muyo universe is rather confusing. So if you're not already on board with it, it's gonna make no sense to you. It's just way too elaborate. It really requires some narrative investment. But that's a really nice set. And then they also have Tenchi Muyo the OVA collection, first time ever on Blu-ray. This includes a booklet, and it's just more of the same, but it's a pretty impressive set. And then we also have A Certain Magical Index, Part 1. This is the first 12 episodes, also from Funimation. A Certain Magical Index is where Harry Potter meets X-Men. 12 episodes on 2 discs. It's adventuresome. It's very nicely animated. Certainly on the upper echelon of some anime stuff. And then you also have part 2 of a certain magical index, episodes 13 to 24, to go along with that. Not as loaded full of extras, but certainly still equally gorgeously animated. So you can do the whole thing there. And then lastly, as we await Mark's return, we have another one from Viz. This is one of the most extensive anime adventures and epics ever created. Naruto Shippuden, the movie, The Will of Fire. There is no way that we could possibly go into all the elaborate detail of the Naruto Shippuden world. Suffice to say that we want to prevent another great ninja war here. So lots of great soap opera and action and animation there. If you're a Naruto Shippuden fan, it does not disappoint. If you're not a Naruto Shippuden fan, well, then there's no point in starting, because like the Tenchi Muyo stuff, it's a universe so sprawling and so elaborate that it would take you at least a year just to bring yourself up to speed. And you know what? Let's do one more here as well. This is also from Funimation. This is a very, very impressive set. This is Lain Serial Experiments, the complete collection. If the term "close the world, open the next" means anything to you, then you know that this is an extremely innovative series it sort of puts Tron to shame. This is everything that Tron sort of aspired to do but didn't really have the guts to do. It's really all about the degree to which we interface with digital material and the digital world, and where the one begins and the other leaves off, and where humanity leaves off and begins. It is, and all is seen and experienced through the 14-year-old Lain. Lain. It is a really interesting show. I don't know that the animation really floors me all that much, but it certainly is extremely well written and conceptually very, very compelling. Comes in and this is Yoshitoshi Abe, who is one of the really A-list artists in the history of Japanese animation. This comes in a Blu-ray set complete with this awesome Inside Serial Experiments Lain art book. So it's a nice, great, big, heavy boxed set from Geneon and Funimation. And, Geneon used to release all their own stuff. They release through Funimation now. And somehow Universal has a role in this as well, I guess because Universal acquired Geneon at some point. Anyway, very, very impressive set. For people who are familiar with this is quite a treat. And I'm surprised this didn't come out sooner to kind of become a major Christmas push. But there it is. And Mark is back with us. How's that working out?
No, I don't know. We're going to get together Thursday.
Okay. They're very good. All right, we're going to get some new movies, but first we should do some of our last listener mail of the year. What do you say, Mark?
I don't know. I can't read.
Okay.
I'm illiterate. I'm admitting it now on this show.
Longtime listener Eric Altieri writes and says, thanks for bringing up the issues with Muppet Christmas Carol on the holiday special. Glad I could share a bit of trivia that you weren't aware of. I'd like to tell you I just found a Laserdisc copy of the movie on eBay, the only complete version of the film released to date. That includes, of course, the musical number that Eric had alerted us to. On a related note, one of my bigger aspects of movie collecting is hunting down rare, hard-to-find, and out-of-print movies and DVDs, much like folks do with comic books. Wondering if you knew of any gems that are highly sought after by collectors. Also want to say the interview with Robert Harris was great, and love hearing more programming like that in the future. Huge fan, and I'm a huge film preservation geek, and the entirety of that interview was pure bliss. Mark, any cult movies that you can think of that are worth trying to scope out on DVD? Anything that's out of print or whatever?
Out of print?
Yeah, out of print classics.
So what you're saying is that Evil Dead is not out of print?
Yeah, definitely not. The thing is, it's awfully hard with a lot of that stuff now because the stuff that goes out of print actually comes back into print so quickly now. There are some good sites around. We'll look some up and we'll maybe make a segment on the show in the future if we can locate.
Well,
some of that.
Well, Rocky Horror, that's available.
Rocky Horror.
Yeah,
okay.
That's
yeah.
on. Is that on DVD?
Yeah. It's on Blu-ray too.
It's on Blu-ray. Oh, that's right. Actually, I think I have it.
Yeah.
How about?
Oh yeah, I've got that.
I'm trying to think of cult movies that may not. Well, Eraserhead is available. That's available.
Yeah.
Freaks is
Lynch owns
available.
that.
Freaks, right?
But, like hard to find out of print stuff. I can't think of much actually.
Yeah, really.
I have to look for some. Well, anyway. And then Teddy Duncan writes us, and or Thomas, not quite sure if this is Teddy or Thomas, but anyway, says, "Hey guys, The Dark Knight Rises is easily the most disappointing movie this year. The twists may be from the comics, but that Bane is not the Bane I know and love. There are terrible inconsistencies in just little things. I urge you to watch The Dark Knight Rises honest trailer on YouTube. It explains far better than I can in just a few words. I enjoyed the movie, but it is not the movie we deserved. I will always be a Christopher Nolan fan. However, I simply cannot laud this film as so many others have." Have you watched that trailer on YouTube?
I have not.
The Dark Knight
I
Rises
did not know
honest
about
trailer.
it.
It's pretty great.
Really?
Yeah.
I want to watch it now.
Check it out. We'll check it out after the show. Kyle Stevens, another longtime listener, says, "I completely disagree with Mark on The Dark Knight Rises. In opinion, this movie is by far the worst of the three and a step down for the entire cast and crew, with the exception of Michael Caine as Alfred, who utterly steals the show in limited scenes. There are too many characters, too many plot points, and too many comic book cliches, which I wouldn't have a problem with if the other two movies followed in suit. Now, as a comic fan from childhood, I could see the big Tali al Ghul reveal coming a mile away, but my wife, who isn't, and I think my 16-month-old too, also picked up on it. My next critique is a personal gripe, but Bane lamented way too much for my taste. Don't you hate that when Bane laments?
You know, honestly, every family gathering, Bane shows up with the same bottle of scotch and the same complaints.
Exactly.
And it gets annoying.
The movie was about 30 minutes too long, and all of it could have been cut. The Gotham martial law section, which droned on and on and on. And he says Joseph Gordon's entire character seemed to me he was shoved in there simply for the payoff at the end. My other complaints are just little tips, and I think that he reflects a lot of what a lot of people felt about the movie.
Well, obviously, I've been taking a lot of crap.
Yeah, it's all right.
Because I loved it. I thought it was great. The only thing I didn't like about it was the way they dispatched one of the major villains. Notice how I'm purposely being vague for those who still have not seen it.
I hear you.
I was like, really? That's how you get rid of him?
Nicholas Gordon writes, "Dear Wade Lee Major and Mark Kaiser Soze." See, there's a little double reference in there. You like that?
Mm-hmm.
I asked 3 questions. I think we can all agree Skyfall was an incredible film. However, do you think that Sam Mendes has now done to the next Bond film what The Dark Knight did to The Dark Knight Rises? Did it set the bar to a level that will be hard for the next film to overcome? I say no, because the Bond films are all in a vacuum. Everybody kind of treats them independently. There's a crappy one and a good one, and a crappy one and a good one, and we sort of accept that that's going to be the trajectory.
That's true, because you know what? If the series can survive Quantum of Solace,
oh my gosh,
anything can happen.
If the series could survive what was the Christopher Walken thing?
Oh, was that a View to a Kill?
View to a Kill. Oh my gosh.
But it had a good Duran Duran song.
Oh my gosh, that was just wow. And then number 2, he says, in today's world of eBay, Amazon, and hundreds of other stores and websites, do you think Disney's strategy of movies being out for a limited time, then going back into the vault, is outdated and downright foolish? I think no. Actually, I think more studios should do that. I think more films should be taken out of circulation and made more precious, because when movies are a rarefied commodity, they mean more to us. When they're too accessible, we take them for granted. So I think it's a good strategy.
And also for Disney, it allows them to make a lot of money in a very short amount of time.
Yep.
Because they create a market for a film, because they know that Snow White's only available for 3 months, and that's it, so buy it now.
And his last question is regarding our relationship with IGN.
We have a relationship already.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Bam!
He says the other podcasts on IGN seem to have people cross over from podcast to podcast, and the rest of them have a more rowdy and more immature crew than your podcast. Do you work at IGN? Are you contracted? Or you sneak into the podcasting room at night when no one is in the office? Actually, we own the brand, and we have a relationship. They host us, and we have complete control over the show, and we are grateful to them for that. They give us a lot of creative control, and they're a great company to work for. It's very nice. We get to kind of, we own our little corner of the office, our little cubicle where our stapler doesn't bind. What? It's a Milton reference. Come on. Office Space. See, you're not getting my jokes today.
I was late to the Office Space thing. When I first saw that movie, I didn't like it. Now I like it.
Gosh. All right. And lastly, well, let's see. No, we got 2 more here. Kyle Stevens writes and says, "I'm a huge Superman fan, and I just saw the new Man of Steel trailer and was blown away. I was really scared that with Wade's favorite director, Zack Snyder, at the wheel, it would be a synthetic kind of film, for lack of a better word. I'm very pleased with the stunning photography. Did you see the trailer? If so, what did you think? Even though he's only a producer, how much of the look, style, and overall production is Nolan, and will this movie be as groundbreaking as The Dark Knight? Let's say The Dark Knight was not a groundbreaking movie, but was for the comic book genres. Thanks. Mark, what do you think of the new Superman trailer?
I think that it is... I'm conditionally not impressed, but let's say I'm not depressed. I am neither here nor there. I think that Henry Cavill, though obviously we have not seen him utter a word, in terms of looks, he looks great.
I agree.
I am a little nervous that if Snyder's going to try to do something with any emotional resonance, it'll be way out of his depth. And that worries me. But, again, and we've talked about this before, where if the movie's good, Nolan will get the credit. If the movie's bad, Snyder will get the blame.
Yes.
But...
True.
The hope is that Nolan can guide this thing, to something that's exciting and emotionally resonant. Because the thing with the Batman movies is that the Batman movies, there was a lot of this deep thematic stuff about fate and whatnot. But the character of Batman, you never really felt bad for him.
Yeah.
He was sort of a cold character.
Yeah.
And maybe what they're trying to do is they're trying to give Superman a little bit of warmth from a character standpoint. And that's okay.
Sure.
That's okay. But Zack Snyder's not known for his warmth.
True.
So I don't know that he can do it, but I'm hoping, because who doesn't love who wouldn't want to love a great Superman film?
And then lastly, before we get into some new movies, we got an email from Brian Hunt who says, first, I have two questions. First, I've been a big fan of martial arts films since I was little, especially Bruce Lee films. Recently purchased Enter the Dragon on Blu-ray and loved what I saw of the transfer. I've looked everywhere online and can't seem to find any American-produced versions of the other Bruce Lee films being released on Blu-ray anytime soon. Why is this? I'm salivating at the thought of watching The Chinese Connection or The Big Boss on Blu-ray. Any info on this would be greatly appreciated. First off, the issue there is that Enter the Dragon was an American film, and produced actually by our friend Zach's dad. And it was distributed by Warner Brothers. They own all the rights to it. The others are, unless you're talking about Game of Death, the others are all Chinese productions. Game of Death, I think you can get. I think I'd have to double check. I seem to recall that's on Blu-ray as well. So you're talking about a rights issue, and I don't think those are going to get necessarily a good Blu-ray release anytime soon, unless it's from somebody like Wellgo, who might acquire the rights. But otherwise, I'd say just go on to like Asian DVD Guide and HKFlix.com and see if you can track down the Hong Kong imports. Should be easy to find. And then his second question, as cable networks continue to expand and grow, I've often wondered why there hasn't been a push to create a martial arts network. Could be a full 24-hour cable network showing documentaries, obscure and popular martial arts films, reality shows, and scripted series. Seems like a cash cow waiting to happen. Why do you think executives haven't jumped at the opportunity to provide a channel like this? Am I the only one who'd be interested in watching? You know what? I think it's a great idea, and I just think the only reason that people haven't jumped on it is because there were a lot of ideas chasing a limited pool of money. And it's just a question of, do you do that as a network, or do you do, the Food Network and the Home Improvement Network and all these other ideas that seem to have sort of a broader base? So yeah, there would absolutely be an audience for it, but is there sufficient interest in this as a business endeavor relative to other business endeavors? I don't know. It's a good question, but I think it's a great idea. Hopefully, somebody in a position of power might be listening to this and we'll run with it. I'd love that.
Wade, nobody in power listens to this. That's our charm.
It is,
the fact that we have no power, and we're talking to people who really just look to us for their DVD and Blu-ray recommendations.
And Mark, do they look to us for recommendations about Clint Eastwood movies?
They do.
What do they say about it?
Well, which Clint Eastwood movie are you talking about? So get this. So Trouble with the Curve, I have to tell you a story. I literally just took a call from a J-Date girl. That was no joke, by the way. So I go out with this J-Date girl. She's French, right? And
oh, that was the one I met at the screening of this. Okay, sorry. So
here's the thing. It was our second date. I really wasn't that impressed. She was a nice girl. Wasn't that impressed. She was French. I do love French girls. Yeah. Wasn't like smoking hot French girl, just like a French girl. Yeah. So she's worldly and whatever. So the second date, I think it's the second date. It might have been the third. I don't know what to do with her. So it was the screening for Trouble with the Curve. Now, she's French. She knows nothing about baseball. But, it's got Clint Eastwood, it's got Amy Adams, and whatever, and she might like that. So I'm trying to get her to go out with me for this third time, and I tell her I got invited to the premiere of Trouble with the Curve. Now, here's the thing. She's all into that. Oh, this premiere is fantastic. What I didn't tell her was that I didn't know if it was the premiere. I just got an invite to the movie. Like Wade and I get invites to 250 movies a year. This was just like Trouble with the Curve, Wednesday at 8 in Westwood. Okay, well, it sounds like a screening. But I told her it was a premiere because I thought that would impress her, and then she would say yes. So what happened was it impressed her, and she said yes. So then the afternoon of the screening, she texts me, and she says, since it's a premiere, what should I wear? And I'm thinking, oh, Christ. I've got her thinking this is like the biggest premiere in the world. I don't know what this thing is. It's just another invite in my inbox. So I decide to say, hey, I don't think it's the premiere. I think it's just a screening, so you can dress casual. Now, I wasn't sure if that was going to like disappoint her because she thought she was going to a big fancy screening with her date.
Oh, I
right?
love this. I love this story. I know where it's going, and I love it.
Because you were there.
Yeah.
So then I text her, again, I think this is just a regular screening. It's not the premiere, so go ahead and dress casual. Not knowing if that was going to disappoint her, but I'd rather disappoint her than have her dress up to the nines, and it's just like another stupid screening. So I get to Westwood before she does, and I get there, and not only is it a premiere, it is the biggest premiere we've gone to in like 5 years. I mean, I don't know why they decided to blow the doors off that movie.
It was hysterical.
It was a huge premiere.
It was huge.
So she shows up dressed normal. I mean, she was dressed completely appropriate because we're the press. It's not like we're with Clint Eastwood, so it doesn't really matter.
That's great.
So she was like, "But you said this was just a screening or whatever French accent," and I said, "Sorry, it's just, hey, it was a surprise. I was trying to surprise you. Yeah, that was it. I'm trying to surprise you. Look at me, full of surprises." So we
This is like a Seinfeld episode.
And the thing is and get this, I wish I liked this girl, but I just didn't. So she shows up. And she's dressed, again, totally appropriately, mellow for the occasion. It's totally fine. Remember the press, not a big deal. But like the moment she shows up to the red carpet. I see her, I wave hello, and immediately within 20 feet of her, she sees Clint Eastwood, Amy Adams. Whips out her cell phone, starts taking pictures, marks the king, took her to the premiere. She's 20 feet from Amy Adams and taking pictures of Clint Eastwood. And that was the last time I saw her. And you met her.
I did meet her. We spoke a little bit of French. So did you like the movie? I know the answer to this.
Oh, there was a movie?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. This movie got beaten up pretty good by the critics, but I have to say I kind of liked it, and I liked it because I found it to be very old-fashioned, and it knows it's old-fashioned, and it's totally cool.
And I love the father-daughter relationship in it with Amy Adams. I think that's fun. I think it's really fun. I look, is it a perfect film? Nah, but it's got.
Is it predictable? Yes.
Totally predictable. But you know what? Clint is really nice and old and grumbly, and Amy Adams is sharp, and even Justin Timberlake is terrific. I mean, he's really charming, and it's a nice old-fashioned character piece, and it's perfectly amiable. A little too long, but I don't care.
Yep, I agree. John Goodman, who's having a very good year.
Yeah,
he's in this too.
Yeah.
You know what? I think this is as they would say, this is a fastball down the middle.
Ooh, yeah.
Like that.
I like that.
Trouble with the Curve. I recommend it. I really do.
Total Recall had a remake this last year that was completely useless and superfluous.
It's awesome.
This is out of 2-disc Blu-ray DVD Ultraviolet Extended Director's Cut. Oh my gosh, all those reasons to not actually be interested in this. Len Wiseman directed this, and of course, if Len Wiseman directed it, that means that he obligatorily has to actually put his wife, Kate Beckinsale, in the movie.
So hot.
And we love Kate Beckinsale, but she is no substitute, I got to tell you, for Sharon Stone. She simply is not. Sharon Stone in the original, so much better. Colin Farrell, much better actor than Arnold Schwarzenegger, but this is not a movie that it requires an actor. It's a movie that requires a star, and the original Verhoeven-directed film is just... It's just a big, cheesy, overblown thing. It doesn't take itself seriously. And what they did wrong here is that they removed the Mars angle, and now they're not going to Mars. They're just going to the other side of the Earth. It's like a post-apocalyptic scenario, and there's like a giant elevator that takes you through the core of the Earth. And this one place is like the ghetto, and the other place is where all the successful people live. And it's like really an elevator through the core of the Earth, and then there's like this zero-gravity moment.
And also, it ruins my favorite line of the original when Sharon Stone says, "You know how much I hate this effing planet."
Yeah,
awesome.
I know. It's just, it doesn't work. But anyway, that did not stop them from bloating this out with special features. There's like more, the special features are just, there's more of the special features in the movie. And yeah, you got the original film and the director's cut. Doesn't matter. 20 additional minutes of just more CGI and stuff that just doesn't contribute at all. Good actors, but man, really, really misbegotten. Just not a good script. Too much production value, too much money thrown at something that's ultimately far too little. So I can't get behind that. And then we also have a movie. It's basketball season. You know, I'm a big basketball fan. I'm deeply distressed and disappointed in how the Lakers are doing. I am also a Kevin Durant fan. You know, look, they're a competing team, but the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're good. Kevin Durant, he's a superstar. He's a future Hall of Famer. You better believe it. They're going to win a championship one of these years. And Warner Premiere has decided to jump on the Kevin Durant bandwagon and release this movie called Thunderstruck, which is just absolutely terrible. I don't know why they always do this. I don't know why they think that every basketball star can momentarily be an actor. They just aren't. And we saw Shaquille O'Neal do this twice with what was
Shazam?
Not Shazam. What is it called? It's Kazam.
Kazam.
How was it? Kazam. And then the other film that I always forget the title of. They're just dreadful. Anyway, James Belushi, of course, tacks himself onto this because it's what he does. And I don't know. You know, yes, Kevin Durant, he plays himself. Big friggin' deal. But it's a body switching movie, for crying out loud. It's like he loses his talents and this 16-year-old kid gets them, and it's really a stretch. It's on a DVD Blu-ray ultraviolet combo pack, probably better as a rental for people who are strictly fans of Kevin Durant. And then before I unleash Mark on this horrible film that he's got in front of him, I'm going to make quick mention of the Blu-ray DVD combo pack of The Day, which has a great cast, but I don't know how interesting the movie is. Dominic Monaghan, I just really think is a cool actor, and I always look for every chance to see him act. He's just really, really cool. But otherwise, this is just yet another sleek, slick, high production value, somewhat low budget, post-apocalyptic survival movie. And they're all kind of the same. And we've even got series now on television that deal with this same kind of premise. And I don't know. The Road, I thought, was a better attempt at basically telling this type of a story, even though it was very bleak and not very action-packed. But Monaghan's good, and sporting cast, including a lot of people that I've seen in other things but don't know too well as actors. Shannon Sassaman, Corey Hardick, Ashley Bell, Shawn Ashmore. It's all right.
It sounds like a parody of like, oh my God, it stars these, like it's like an SNL skit.
Yeah.
Starring Corey Hardick, Shannon Sossaman, and Ashley Bell. It sounds like a skit or something. Like you're trying to create all-star characters.
Yeah.
Oh wait, here's the
right.
thing. We were just talking about how Len Wiseman always casts his wife Kate Beckinsale in movies.
Yeah.
I can do you one better. Paul W.S. Andersen always casts Mila Jovovich in his movies because they're married.
Yeah.
And the Resident Evil films, which the first Resident Evil I think was in 1963, because about every 18 months there's another one of these pieces of crap, and it's always the same thing, and they're interchangeable. And not that they don't have a lot of style, and there's a lot of monsters and people blowing up, it's just the same thing.
I know.
Stop it already. The Umbrella Corporation, there's always a virus, and there's monsters, and then she shoots people, she wears leather. I'm all for Mila Jovovich wearing leather. I get it. But I just don't know the difference between one and the other. They're just so awful.
Every one of these films is exactly the same.
And I don't know why you would want this over the other ones. But again,
talk to Luke Thompson. Luke will LYT will tell you all about it. He will.
He loves these movies, right?
He does. He really does.
And you know what? Mila puts her game face on, and she looks intense, and she shoots a lot of bad guys. And the movie, which comes in a Blu-ray 3D, which I know you're all enjoying your Blu-ray 3Ds, because who isn't? Yeah. Everybody has Blu-ray 3D now. It's the hottest thing. Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It looks terrific, but still, again, I just... the only thing I'll say is that the later the films get and the bigger the budgets get, the better they tend to look on Blu-ray because you're putting more money into it. And I get that. That's fine. But I just feel like it's just every couple of years I've got to sit through more of this stuff. Just stop it already. Make it stop. The thing is that she's a big name overseas. Mm-hmm. And... Killing monsters is big internationally because there's not a lot of dialogue involved. Mm-hmm. You just have to shoot monsters, and that plays well internationally. So I get why they keep doing these and they keep the budgets down, but that doesn't mean we have to spend money renting them.
Okay, Mark?
Yes.
I'm gonna make quick mention of this next film because Ozombie is one of my favorite films of the year.
Is it like an Irish zombie?
No. This is a cross between Osama and Zombie. It's Ozombie.
Awesome.
This is the sequel to Zero Dark 30. Did you not know this? It truly is. It's amazing how similar it is in some respects. In both cases, it's a woman, who's the only one that really has a clue. Except in the one, it's the real woman who had to track down Osama bin Laden. In this one, it's a woman played by Eve Morrow who's convinced that Osama bin Laden is still alive, and in fact, he is. He's a zombie. He comes back as a zombie. He's Osama bin Laden the zombie, otherwise known as Ozombie. This thing's from has been released by E1 Entertainment, produced independently. It's really silly. There's no point to it, but it's a high-profile, high-concept, zombie movie. If you love zombie movies, you got to add this one. It is sort of entertaining. It's cheesy, but it's worth watching just for the camp value of it. And that's on Blu-ray of all things. Believe it or not, can you beat it? It's friggin' Blu-ray.
Oh, Wade, there's a lot of Oscar talk for some reason because he pays people to do this for him, but there's a lot of Oscar talk for Richard Gere about a film called Arbitrage. And I did like Arbitrage. Arbitrage is an interesting film. Gere's kind of... He's not like a great actor, but he's sort of becoming this old school, old style, classic Hollywood actor. And he always does solid work, always nice to see him, always good. Never like the greatest that ever was.
Yeah.
But you know what? Richard Gere's cool, and I feel like he kind of hasn't really gotten his due. I don't know if this is the movie that's really going to do it, but he is terrific. And what's good about this film, he plays this. He plays like this. He's this super, super rich New York hedge fund guy. And what's great about the film is that he does a lot of bad things. He cheats on his wife, and he's involved like in this big fraud, and he's from a business standpoint, he employs his daughter, and he winds up doing some bad things financially with his daughter. Yet you still sort of want to see if he's going to get away with what he has to get away with in this film, being purposely vague.
Right.
And that's tough because basically he's like an anti-hero. He's a guy you should hate because he's horribly rich because he's a hedge fund manager. He's mean to his
head cheese manager.
I love head cheese. No, I don't. He cheats on his wife, mean to his daughter, the whole nine yards. Yet you still root for him, and I kind of like that. And it's very Hitchcockian in that sense. But I liked it.
The guy who directed this, first-time director, took him forever to get this movie funded, and I'm thrilled. It's a real great success story, and there's so few of those these days.
Well, it was Nicholas Jaracki who this is his first narrative feature.
Yep.
And it's got a good cast. Susan Sarandon plays his wife, and Britt Marling, who you know from Another Earth, makes her kind of like mainstream movie debut as the daughter. And it's good stuff. I really liked Arbitrage. It's an interesting film, and even at the end, you're still not quite sure what you feel about him. Mm-hmm. You're not quite sure if he's going to get away with it totally, but you're totally intrigued. So I would recommend Arbitrage.
Got a couple of family things here that I'm going to make a quick mention of before we wrap up our last few titles. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, we made mention of on the holiday show, the Gift Guide Christmas show, and there was they had a few glitches in the disc that they had sent us, the Blu-ray, and they sent us a replacement, and I am here to say it's fantastic. What an awesome transfer. It's just gorgeous. There's an archival footage reel that's on here, 45 minutes worth of material. The movie has never looked this good. Even when I saw this for the first time when I was a kid, it didn't look this good. So I'm kind of stunned at how good the movie this cheap and that has been declared one of the worst films ever made. I'm kind of amazed at how good it actually looks on Blu-ray. Definitely get that. Throw away all those public domain things you've had all these years. And this is just too special for words. The Samuel Goldwyn library is now being released in bits and pieces by Warner Brothers. And they've released a Blu-ray book of the original Sam Goldwyn production of Hans Christian Andersen starring Danny Kaye, which is a film I remember so fondly as a kid. This is just a delightful classic. Not exactly an accurate biopic by any means, but it pays homage to the spirit of Hans Christian Andersen. It's one of the most charming roles that Danny Kaye has ever had, and it is a beautiful, beautiful movie. It is gorgeous looking. It's in a Blu-ray book format, as Warner Brothers has kind of perfected. directed this, and it's a delight. It's a sheer delight. I can't recommend it highly enough. Your kids will love it. You'll love it, and it's a classic that just has to be on everybody's shelf. Absolutely does. Don't miss it. Blu-ray of Hans Christian Andersen from the Samuel Goldwyn Library.
You know, Wade, Red Hook Summer didn't really go anywhere, which I find to be very strange.
It's not that well made.
I like this film a lot.
Did you really?
I did.
That's interesting. Ray did as well. I'm kind of look. I think the guy that plays the central figure, the preacher, is really good.
Oh, Clark Peters.
Yeah, I think he's really, really good. My issue with it is that this is a movie that basically Spike Lee financed on his credit card out of his own pocket, and he had all of his NYU students be his crew.
Yes.
One of whom was actually the editor on the film. You
yes.
know? So he used it as sort of a teaching moment for his class at NYU, and the result is that it's not exactly as polished as I think it should be. But I like the fact that it exists in the same world as Do the Right Thing.
Yes,
I like that.
You know what? This is sort of a continuation of something that Spike's been working on for most of his career. This sort of like Chronicle of Brooklyn thing.
Yeah.
He did it with She's Gotta Have It, and of course his masterpiece Do the Right Thing, and Clockers, and He Got Game, and now you have Red Hook Summer, which is a kind of a quasi sort of sequel to She's Gotta Have It. In fact, Mookie even shows up, which is great, and it's about this kid from Atlanta who comes to spend the summer in Red Hook, and it's got a lot of religious overtones in it, and it's got a lot of sharp writing in it, and you will talk about this thing when it's done because it is so interesting, and Clark Peters is great. And I like the fact that Spike Lee is going back to that gritty, grungy thing where all he cares about is script and character. That's it.
Yep.
And because you know when he did Inside Man, remember he followed up Inside Man with that horrible St. Anna thing.
Oh my gosh!
Remember how bad that
Miracle
was?
at St. Anna's.
Miracle
yeah.
at St. Anna. Just stop that. He needed to strip it down and do something like this.
Yeah.
You know, because that's the stuff that maybe gets him re-energized.
Well, let's see what he does with Old Boy, right?
I'm hoping that he knocks that thing out of the park.
I am too.
That's
but
great.
It's awfully hard to kind of surpass the original. You know, Chan Park-wook. Man.
That's true. But you know what? I think that Spike Lee is not necessarily like a viscerally brutal director.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's not really into like super violence or that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm hoping he learns how for Old Boy.
So a couple of films here that should have gotten the attention of critics at the end of the year, at least for some of their contributions, but did not, unfortunately. The first one is 360.
Did you like this movie?
I did, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I did. This is directed by Fernando Meirelles, the Brazilian director who previously did City of God.
Which is amazing.
Which is astonishing. And, of course, the gardener, the
Constant
gardener. And then written by Peter Morgan, who is just, brilliant. Frost Nixon.
The thing with Peter
Queen.
Morgan is that sometimes he does lame stuff.
See, this is here's the
become
thing.
hit and miss.
360 is basically a modern version of La Ronde, which has been done numerous times, and so it's kind of an omnibus film of all of these interconnected lives, which we've seen a lot of in recent years. There are all these kind of portmanteau films like Magnolia and The Five Senses, and on and on and on. We know that style. The Red Violin is a little bit like one of those as well. And I just really enjoy the way all these lives interconnected. I thought Anthony Hopkins in this thing is astonishing. I mean, there's some amazing acting here.
He is good.
It's yes, it is a little, it forces its hand in a couple of places in ways that doesn't feel realistic, but I think it's incredibly well directed, and I think it's very sharply written, and I think the performances are just first rate. Jude Law is terrific. Rachel Weisz is terrific in this thing. Trying to think who else is really, really turns it on here. It's just really, it's got some great pieces to it. They don't all come together, but there's some great pieces. And then the other film is Sleepwalk with Me, which is Mike Birbiglia's Sundance hit. It was also at South by Southwest. I love Mike Birbiglia as an actor, or as a comic. I'm not so sure how I feel about him as an actor. I think he's a very, very funny stand-up with amazing timing. But this thing is a little bit odd. It's like he's trying to project a more serious version of his comic persona into an independent film that's sort of semi-autobiographical, and it's based on an off-Broadway show that he did, as well as a book that he wrote. So it definitely has has a pedigree, but I just don't. It's a little bit odd and doesn't quite never really catches fire as a movie. It always feels still a little bit like a one-man show. So anyway, if you like Birbiglia, I mean, he directed it and co-wrote it, the whole thing. It's pretty much a one-man movie, but I just don't know that it translates from its previous source material into a movie. But it's on Blu-ray and doesn't need to be on Blu-ray. You'll just get the same effect if you ever watch it on DVD. So maybe as a rental if you're a fan of his, just to see what it looks like.
I like Birbiglia because he has a funny name.
Yeah. There you go.
Peter Hedges is a director who kind of exists in the strange little world of like quirky character mid-budget things. Now, he's done a lot of good work. He wrote What's Eating Gilbert Grape. He wrote About a Boy, which is terrific.
Oh, I love that movie.
And he also and then he started directing. He directed Pieces of April, which is very good. Dan in Real Life, which I kind of liked, although it did get beaten up a little bit. He does take a step back with The Odd Life of Timothy Green. And the problem is that I think Hedges is trying too hard to make this some sort of like, classic Disney, child perennial favorite of all time. And I just think he's trying too hard to make this thing enchanting. It's about this married couple. They're played by Joel Edgerton and Jennifer Garner.
Who's much better, by the way, Joel Edgerton in Zero Dark 30. Freaking awesome. He's great in that.
And so they, this couple, they dream about what it would be like to have a child and what the child would be like. And then one day, little Timothy shows up on their doorstep because they wished it to be so. And so it's all about that. I won't tell you what happens. But the issue with the movie is that I just found it to be very sentimental and very cloying. And I did not really respond. I don't really respond to that stuff that's just really sentimental. Again, not that it doesn't mean well, not that it's not sweet, but I just feel like Hedges was trying too hard to make this thing like the ultimate, kids empowerment perennial. But it's got a nice message. Kids won't really respond to the criticism that we're making, but it's for the adults. It's very schmaltzy. It's got a lot of cliches, but it really wasn't my cup of tea. What is also not my cup of tea is the latest sequel to Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
I just don't get this series at all.
Well, because we're not kids. And we're not Wimpy. Well, I'm Wimpy. Yeah. Although I'm like Wimpy because I like hamburgers.
I was just going to make a Wimpy hamburger joke. You beat me to it.
Because you're lame.
Damn.
All right, this is Dog Days on Blu-ray and digital copy and DVD. This is about the kid, and he goes into a thing, and he's wimpy, and he's over his head, and
I know.
Something happens.
I hear you. No, I get it. It really just loses me. It's a very particular following these movies have. Well, anyway, it has an animated comic, Class Clown, on it. That's interesting.
Well, these movies are cheap to make. I mean, come on, they're cheap to make. The kids are going to scream and yell and stomp their feet till their parents take them, to the tune of just enough to make another one.
Maybe I'll show this to some kids over Christmas and see what they think. Maybe they can change my mind on it. All right, with that, show is over. And Mark, we will be back in the new year with more fabulous stuff, and we're going to try to put together some kind of a concerted best of 2012 list. It's a gigantic task, but maybe we'll give it some thought over the holiday and see if we can come up with something that sort of gives people a guide to maybe the very best DVDs and Blu-rays of 2012.
So what you're saying is that we will not be back until 2013.
That's right.
So what you're saying is we need to tell everybody, keep showing up to the Facebook page. We're not like disappearing from the earth.
Nope.
We're just taking 2 weeks off.
Take some time during the holidays and make some Vox boxes, those of you who can record great questions. Come on, we've had a
Vox box. We haven't had one for a couple of weeks.
Not for a couple of weeks. We've got one banked for the new year, and
yeah, but that was Wade disguising his voice as somebody else.
Exactly.
My name is Shecky from Shelbyville. I would like to know what your favorite movie is of the world.
Well, we've got the one banked for the new year, so we're gonna hold on to that and look forward to getting some more from you. So send us in your Vox boxes as well as your listener mail to gods@digigods.com. And honestly, have a Merry Christmas, a great remainder of Hanukkah. What's it? One night left. Something like that.
I'm the worst guy to ask that to.
And a fantastic New Year, everybody. We know everybody celebrates New Year, so Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2013.